Welcome back to Slick Willy Flies, and today we're going to tie a Big Tasty. So in the vise I have black and orange Big Tasty, and this is one of my absolute favorite patterns. I've mentioned before I tie this in every shape, every color, all different kind of hooks. It's just my absolute favorite fly. So I've pre-prepped the Marabou to save a little time, and I've decided that I'm going to make a separate video on how I prepare the Marabou. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get right in on it. I have a size 4 wide gap hook, and on it I have placed a 3mm tungsten bead. So I'm going to use a little bit of black thread. In this case uni, but any thread that you like will do. So I'm gonna just put a base of thread down. Now I'm assuming that if you're watching this video that this is not the first fly you've tied, because I don't really think that this is a beginner fly. It's not a hard tie, but it's probably not a beginner tie either. So I am going to bring it back to about where the hook starts to bend, and now I'm going to make a dubbing loop, simple dubbing loop, and bring my thread all the way back forward. And get my little spinner. As I mentioned earlier, I pre-prepped the Marabou. I have a little sip of my rum and coke. For me, it's Saturday night, and I'm having a good night, having a little rum and coke, and about to tie the Big Tasty. So what I have in my clip here is black and orange Marabou and some Flashabou. I'll show it to you in a second. Actually, I can show it to you right now. I have black and orange Marabou and a little bit of Opal Mirage Flashabou. It's not hard to do, but it takes a little bit of time to prep. So we'll do it in another video. In fact, what I'll do is I'll do a video about Marabou, the different types of Marabou, and how I choose Marabou. Right now, I'm carefully inserting it into my loop. Nice and careful, just like that. And then I'm gonna even them all out. You only want a few millimeters past the loop. You don't need, you don't want a big clump. Give it a good spin and lock it in. Give it a little bit of a better spin and lock them in. It kind of locked in a little strange in this one. I'm gonna take my bodkin now, and I'm gonna pull out as many of these trap feathers as possible. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna look good. Usually the Marabou locks in a little bit nicer all the way to the hook. It's very thin up against the hook in this particular fly, but it's gonna be fine. So now, because I have a rotary vise, I'm gonna use the rotary function. If you don't have a rotary vise, you can still make this fly, but then I recommend using a hackle plier. You place your hackle plier, cut off your spinner, and away you go. Now, this is not an expensive rotary vise. You've heard me say before, I'm on a budget. Fly fishing doesn't need to break the bank. I know that there's way better vices out there, but this vise works for me. So here we go. I'm going to start to bring it back, and then I'm going to pretty much on every single turn, once I start to get the bulk of the materials on the fly, I'm going to stroke everything back. Whoops. Be careful with that hook point. You do not want to break off your loop. Now, you can't get crazy when you're making this fly thinking, oh my gosh, this looks terrible. It doesn't look pretty at this phase, but it will look amazing when you're done, and even more amazing when the marabou hits the water. You know, if you know marabou, and I gotta again assume that if you're watching this video, this is not your first fly. Marabou comes to life in the water. Marabou is awesome in the water. It is an awesome, awesome material. You know, it's been used by everybody forever. And it just is, it's a very, very popular material for fly tying. And I have to say that I use a lot of marabou, a lot of different kinds of marabou on a lot of flies. And this little combo here, black and orange with a metallic orange bead. Sometimes I make it with a metallic black bead. You know, honestly, I'm not so sure that it makes that big of a difference, but fish love it. Fish just love this one. So I'm about where I want to be. I'm all the way to the bead. So it's important that the thread be seated nicely behind that bead, because this is a very durable fly. As long as it's nicely seated. Ooh, that was bad. That's what I did not want to do. We're gonna save it though. We are going to capture, I caught that loop with my fingers. We're gonna capture it here quickly, just like that. Wow, that we get lucky. Or I got lucky. So that's cool. You got to see a bit of a hiccup. And a nice little save, it looks like. Making sure that that gets in there good. Now I'm going to take my scissors. When I cut something, whether it's marabou or craft, I like to give it a little spin so it tightens up what I'm cutting. And then I end up cutting just what I want to cut off. I also always cut above. I never cut below, so I don't risk cutting off my thread, my bobbin. So all I'm going to do now is make sure that I capture this all really well. Because that dubbing loop broke off, I might actually go back a little farther with this thread than I normally do. Won't hurt anything, and all I'm doing is just making a little bit more sure that I didn't that it's locked in. Okay, so that feels pretty good, I hope. So now I'm going to get my whip finish tool. And I'm going to make a whip finish. Plenty. And cut off my thread. And now I'm going to enjoy a well-deserved sip of rum and coke. And that's good. And that was a good save. So what I do now is I use my bodkin to release all these trapped fibers, and I go forward and back. I don't care if a few fibers get broken off. It's fine. There's plenty of fibers on this fly. So I go in both directions. I kind of see the the fibers that are trapped, and I just work them out. Get a little fluff in this fly. And again, some of the fibers are gonna fall out. That's fine, it's no problem. I think that if they fall out in this phase, they were gonna fall out anyway. But this is an extremely, extremely durable fly. As long as you don't rip off the fibers when you hook a fish, that's where the risk is. When you hook a fish, you have to be very careful that you take only the hook. Don't grab the fibers to remove the hook out of a fish's mouth. That's the only way you're gonna hurt this fly. This fly will catch you dozens of fish as long as you do that nicely. So I just finished it off with a little bit of fly finish from the fly company, and I just use that to basically lock in the head, the knot. And I use again my bodkin, super simple, little drop right on the knot, just like that. And that's it. This fly is finished. Super simple, super durable, and amazing fly. This thing is an absolute assassin. Let me give you one more tip. I actually think that the length of the fly is good. But if you were disappointed with the length, if you thought this fly was too long, I would never ever take a pair of scissors and cut the marabou. One of the things that is really awesome about this fly is that natural, wispy, uneven ends that just, they come to life in the water. But if there was a situation where you just felt like the marabou was too long, what you need to do in that scenario is you would pinch your marabou at your desired length. Sometimes it's easy if you just moisten your fingers a little, like I did. So you put it all together. So all you do is pinch your marabou. Say that I wanted to take that bit off, and then you just break it off, rip it off. You don't ever cut marabou. And when you do it this way, you will end up with that same natural looking wispy fibers. See? Nothing looks even there. So don't cut marabou ever. And there it is, black and orange, big tasty, super easy, super wicked fly. Little bit of flash in there, I'm sure you can see. When this thing hits the water, this is a killer fly. Strip it, swing it, drift it, fish it under an indicator. I know someone that actually has trolled this fly, fresh water, and hooked a bunch of fish. I have actually trolled a much bigger size when I was in the fjords in Norway, and hooked a bunch of mackerel. Not that I'm saying that trolling is fly fishing, but we caught a bunch of mackerel, and we just wanted to see if they would eat one of these flies. So, but yeah, this is a great fly. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you're having a cocktail with me tonight. If you have any questions, let me know. If you have any comments, leave them also. And see you in the next video.